Welcome back to Athens and welcome back to game number 2 of today's doubleheader between Ohio and Ball State. I'm Ethan Sargent. Alongside me is Chloe Workman. We just saw Ohio's second straight victory against Ball State. It was another one that was cut short early due to a run rule. It was 10-2 in case you missed that first game. Kylie Kaufelt helped keep the offense in check for Ball State. Ohio got some big offense from Alexis Daw, as well as Emma Hoffner. And it was a big-time day, the second in a row after the 13-3 win yesterday, the 10-2 win today. And now it'll bring me the opportunity to bring in Chloe. And we got to, obviously, after Kaufelt's great effort, how can Skip Miller, the pitcher now for Ohio, how could she replicate that effort today?
I mean, Skip Miller was the starting pitcher yesterday. She's been kind of the main pitcher for the Bobcats all season. And yesterday she only gave up 3 runs. And granted, it was a home run. But other than that one hit, she pitched a lights-out game. She was able to come away with 2 strikeouts as well as 2 walks. But she didn't allow any doubles or triples other than the home run. And I think if she can continue pitching like she did yesterday, I think she will, find herself a lot of success.
I would have to agree, as we are just about set to get underway here in game number 2. 7-inning games here for the second of the doubleheader. We are underway, and we will get things going with Haley Wynn, who struggled a little bit at the plate. He's one of the more dangerous hitters in the MAC, but struggled at the plate over the past couple of games. That one just a little high as we get things going. 1-0, the count.
And Ohio, overall, they've had 122 strikeouts, and 63 of those have been at the hands of Skip Miller.
Miller, one of the better pitchers in the MAC, as Ohio looks to try and continue this hot streak. That's 8 in a row now after their win just a few minutes ago, and they'll look to make it 9.
First batter up, we got Haley Wynn, and Wynn, although she's been very successful throughout the season, she's kind of struggled a bit today. Earlier on in the game, wasn't really able to do too much at her leadoff position.
Yeah, Skip Miller tied for second in the MAC in wins with 8 of them. It's 15 complete games, so you'd probably expect, even despite the fact that she pitched yesterday, you'd probably expect that she's got most of this game, if not all of it. She's also pitched the 3rd most innings in the MAC with 93.2. Easily the most on Ohio. And it's 3-1 here, the count, to Wynn, who also leads the MAC in a number of hitting categories. So a good matchup here as that one's fouled back. Lucky for the net there, or we might have been in trouble up here in the press box.
Yeah, that one came straight back at us, but a full count now for Skip Miller. And Ball State's already starting off on a positive note compared to the last game when they got 3 straight outs on almost 4 pitches.
About this time last inning, we were already in the bottom of the first. As there's a strikeout for Skip Miller, she gets Wynn swinging. So after it took Kylie Kaufelt 6 full innings to get her first strikeout, and in the end she didn't even end up needing to come out for the 7th due to the run rule. It took her 6 innings to get that first strikeout. It takes Skip Miller just 1 batter. And after facing the second leading hitter in the MAC in average and win, she now faces the 4th leading hitter in Amaya Daniel, who's batting .412. Haley Wynn, for reference, batted .438. Leading the MAC is Addison Hudson of Western Michigan with a .455 average.
Western Michigan's had a bit of an interesting season. They haven't got to play their full games. They had a whole series canceled due to weather reasons. So
yeah, that could be a big one that could come back later in the year potentially, especially when you look at the MAC standings.
Right now, it looks like Western Michigan's on top, but they have played way less MAC games than the rest of the conference, them only having 3. Meanwhile, this will be Ohio's 11th MAC game, and they're 8-2 so far throughout the conference.
It's been a great start to conference play for Ohio. You can't fault that, absolutely. And like, as that one is fouled down the line, Daniel 1 and 2 the count. Ohio far and away have the most wins right now in the MAC at 9-2, currently with that percentage, and because of that series cancellation that Chloe mentioned, Western Michigan do sit atop the standings. The 9-12 overall record and 3-0 conference record. Ohio have the most wins currently with 18. Also the most conference wins with that 9-2 sparkling conference record so far. Of course, 8 wins in a row in the conference.
We're tied up at 2 now with 2 balls, 2 strikes.
Yeah, I think their biggest competition looks like it might be those rivals down over in Oxford. They gave them, of course, took 2 of 3 from here. That's a single over the head of the shortstop, and it will be a hit number 1. It was over Grind's head.
A good
And Daniel's
start.
on base. Yep.
Good start already for Ball State. Only 1 out. They already got a runner on base with Amaya Daniel. A nice little single as Michaela Timmons steps up. Timmons, one of the bigger bats here for Ball State. Dangerous hitter.
As just missed as the steal attempt is successful from Daniel. So a runner in scoring position with 1 out now for the Cardinals.
Emma Hoffner, she picked up on that one quickly, but I think she just left that ball on the wrong side of second base. If she would have had it on the other side, that would have easily been an out.
Yeah, Michaela Timmons now second in the MAC in RBIs here on the plate. She's got an opportunity to tie somebody in the opposite dugout, Analia Paoli, who's got 31. And Timmons has 30. 1-1 the count here. Swing and a miss. Good pitch there from Miller. Got her with the speed. And 1-2 now the count.
A huge swing right there for Timmons. You can tell that she is just swinging for power right there.
Yeah, swinging for the fences, no doubt. 1-2. Let's see what Miller breaks out here. Will she break out some of that off-speed stuff we saw from Kylie Kaufeld earlier? She did go off-speed, and just by the hair on her chinny chin, Timmons stays alive. Just the slightest of tips to keep that at-bat alive. She did go for that off-speed.
Yeah, and I mean, I think Michaela tried to wait back on that one, but she still was just way ahead of it, catching that one off the very end of her bat, and that's one of the biggest battles is facing those off-speed pitches.
And there's a swing and a miss. Strike 3. 2 strikeouts to start this one off for Skip Miller. You can see that she's going to be aggressive out there on the mound. She is not going to give a quarter. And now Samantha Jomata up to the plate. Yeah, obviously the base runner, the single allowed, but the 2 strikeouts. Mata shows bunt, then pulls back. She's done that a few times. She did that earlier. May just be maybe more part of her stance than anything.
Yeah, for some players, they use it as kind of a way to line up the pitch and kind of help them, get into their rhythm.
Mm-hmm. That would make sense. As there it is again. And she hits one softly. It gets by, and Grind throws it over and makes the play. So a base runner allowed by Skip Miller, but 2 strikeouts. And it's a 0 on the board for Ball State, and we'll catch the Ohio Bats when we come back in the bottom of the first. Bottom of the first here at Ohio softball field. It is 0-0. One hit in that top of the first inning for the Cardinals, but it was run into the ground, and we will get things going with Hummel, leadoff batter, Belle Hummel. Freshman from Cincinnati, went to Lakota West High School. And that is outside pitching today for the Cardinals. After earlier is Frances King. We saw her yesterday, did we not, Chloe?
Yep, she came in at the end of the game yesterday against the Bobcats, but fortunately for her, she really wasn't able to kind of stave off that the electric Ohio offense. I mean, with a pair of home runs, and they were just kind of able to seal the deal.
Yeah, King with a 4.65 ERA, 1 win to 5 losses. She started 5 games so far this season. 37.2 innings pitched, allowed 55 hits, 13 strikeouts to 10 walks. So, of course, the big story of that first game was just how often Ohio were able to get on base because of the amount of walks they took. We'll see if that remains a story.
And, I mean, Belle Hummel was one of those ones that took walks. She took 2 of them last game.
And that's how the game started, was with a Belle Hummel walk. And we'll see here what happens. She went down 1-2 and took that one outside. Here's the 2-2, and it's low. Gets away from the catcher, Timmons.
Full count now here already for Hummel.
And that was the biggest theme that we saw in that last game, was the consistency of Ohio's at-bats. It was never an easy out. It seemed like every time, every at-bat was a battle. And once again, after going behind, Belle Hummel's made it a battle. And she gets a soft tapper to short, and the play is made. The infield was in, and it was Daniel over there at short who makes the play. So, pretty routine start for the Cardinals. Hummel will head back to the bench, and that'll bring up Yaz Logan.
Yeah, I mean, with the shortstop playing in like that, she did exactly her job, and that one just kind of bounced perfectly right into her glove. But Hummel will have more chances here later on.
Yeah, absolutely. She did a good job of getting on base in that first game. We talked about how important it is to get that leadoff hitter on base. Doesn't work out quite as maybe the Bobcats envisioned in this one, but they will move on and move forward with Yasmin Logan, who had an eventful game.
Had an eventful series at this point.
Yeah, very. Had that big home run yesterday. Today has a run, has an RBI in the game earlier today. Definitely doing her job out in center. And she falls behind in the count 1-2. And she is 6th in the league in RBIs with 21. Alexis Daw down in 15th. She's up next. Or Paoli, is up next. Daw will bat cleanup at 4th. So you've got the sixth ranked in the league in RBIs at 2. You've got number 1 in the league in RBIs and Analia Paoli here batting 3 up next. And then you've got Daw, who's 15th in the league in RBIs, batting 4th. So not a bad trio right here to come up against. As Yaz Logan taps this one. It's going to be a tough play over at 3rd. And it was just in time. Throw made by Richard, and it was a good one. Richard didn't play in the first game.
I think that one was a little bit closer than maybe it needed to be, but Richard kind of acted like she had all the time in the world. But, I mean, reality, it was still kind of a bang-bang play right there.
Yeah.
With the speed of Yasmin Logan.
Yeah, it was a tight call, but so far so good, and it's for sure a better start than the game we saw earlier today, where Ball State, they were down in the first inning, and then they could the Ohio offense just kept piling it on, and the deficit just kept on climbing. Even when they were able to put runs up on the board, the deficit just kept climbing. And now if you're Ball State, obviously you've already the series lost secured as Paoli dinks one over, and it's going to land just foul. well, about a couple feet left foul. As I was saying, they're already going home with a series loss, but you want to take at least a little bit of momentum with you. And nothing would do that quite like ending a win streak of the Bobcats and getting that last victory here in the end of the series as Paoli rips another one, this time the opposite side. Jenna Hall nodding her approval over there on the far side.
Yeah, I mean, Paoli was all over both of those balls. And, I mean, when you foul off on both sides, it kind of keeps the defense on their toes a little bit. They don't know exactly where she's going to place these balls. But knowing Paoli, she can pretty much put them wherever she would like to.
One of the more talented hitters you'll see in the MAC. As she sets in the box for the 1-2. Hits this one, popped up to short, and the play is made by Maya Daniel. So a 1-2-3 inning for the Cardinal, just what they wanted on defense, and they'll get the chance to take the lead here in the top of the second when we come back. On this brisk and chilly early spring day, is April 2nd. You never really know what to expect in this town weather-wise. One day it could be 30, the next it could be 80. You never know.
Yeah, I mean, I looking at the forecast, I think it's supposed to be 80 on Wednesday. So
yeah,
quick turnaround.
I'll probably be out in shorts and t-shirt that day, but today we're up here in an open-top press box, so we're all bundled up here, coats and gloves and.
Got our thick winter coats out here in April.
Yeah, that's Ohio for you, and I'm sure those in Muncie can relate as well. It's not too dissimilar over in Indiana. Not too far of a drive. There are. Ohio is a little bit out there for Muncie. It's a bit of a far bus ride. But they are here, and they're looking to take one off Ohio, and it is quickly 3-0. The batter up is Matthews. Miller deals the 3-0, and that's outside. So a 4-pitch walk for Caitlin Matthews. She walked in the last game as well.
That seems more kind of an uncharacteristic walk right there for Skip Miller, especially after having 2 strikeouts in the last inning. I mean,
yeah, and all 4 of those pitches were outside, it seemed. See, now you got to change your approach a little bit because that was the left-handed Matthews, and now you're dealing with the right-handed Armenda Rees, who had a solid game at the plate in the last game. There's a strike for Miller to set back in.
Yeah, last game, Armenda Rees, she had 2 hits paired along with an RBI. Ohio, it's a little bit different of a feel right now than we've seen the last 2 games from the Bobcats.
Yeah, in both of those games they jumped out. They jumped out to quick starts. They were up in the bottom of the first, or after the bottom of the first inning. That's a good stop by Hoffner. And no swing from Armenda Rees. So 1-1.
They wanted to challenge that one, I guess. It was a pretty close one, but Armendariz batting just above 300 here. And she's had 16 RBIs on the season thus far.
As this one is grounded softly, and it'll be a foul ball. Luckily, in the end for Ohio, as took a rough bounce. Westler couldn't quite corral it, so that stayed fair. Runners are probably safe. Instead, it's just a strike. 1-2. The count to Armendariz. Had a solid week in their last series. Ball State, they took on NIU last weekend and took 2 or 3. Here comes the steal attempt, and it is safe. It was a good throw from Hoffner, but in the end, just the speed of Matthews was too much. Hoffner put it in the right spot.
Yeah, that really was a bang-bang play, and I almost have to wonder if Ohio was anticipating it because that ball was kind of way on the outside there.
Yeah, so now 2-2 the count, and that one is way high. So now the count is full. Big pitch here early for Skip Miller after a relatively unscathed first. With no outs, the Cardinals trying to knock on the door early and take a lead that they haven't really been able to take all weekend. Here's the full count pitch. And it is high, so a walk worked from Armendariz.
Back-to-back walks.
And now that will bring up Emma Richards, who the only player in this lineup that didn't play in the last game. She's over at third.
On the season, Emma Richards' batting average is .194. She's had 7 RBIs.
Yeah,
3 home runs, though.
Redshirt freshman. We'll see if she can flash the power here. Could be a big starting point. And she has a big hack at that one. Good pitch there for Miller to get back into things. 0-1. You could really use a strikeout right here.
She's been able to draw 4 walks, and she struck out 10 times on the season. She's only played in about 13 of the Cardinals games.
Yeah, so from a Florida native, as she showed bunt. The throw over to third is in time. And now there's an out. So the runner was called out. That's Matthews over there. Now there's going to be a discussion. That is Coach Schur over there, Lacey Schur, who was an assistant at Harvard in the past, but now she is at Ball State, and she is in charge, and she's having a real inquiry here.
That ball was there way early. I mean, it was just kind of waiting on her to get there.
Yeah, now Matthews will trot off. That's a big out on the base paths for Ohio. That completely changes the complexion of this inning. So now you have a runner on second, you have an out, and you have a batter at 0-2 here. That's a big-time play in the backstop by Hoffner.
Yeah, Hoffner, I mean, she picked up on that one quick. She had that ball down there so quickly that it was just kind of waiting on her. I'm not really sure if you're able to dispute this one as Coach Jenna Hall comes out to talk.
I'm not sure. Jenna Hall seems to be complaining. I'm not sure what she's complaining about because she got the call. And whatever the inquiry was, it is now over. And we return to action. Richards still up to bat, down 0-2, but now we have an out, and it's Armendariz in the chaos was able to move over to second. It was a double steal attempt. She was safe. Here's the 0-2 from Miller, and that's outside. As of now, Armendariz taking her leave, but there's nobody over there to even check her. As you can see, both infielders, Grine and O'Brien, are spaced out pretty evenly amongst the infield. There's a strike 3 looking. Skip Miller has her 3rd strikeout. And just like that, when it seemed like Ball State could get some real momentum there, a really nice play from Hoffner and then a strikeout. And just like that, 2 outs very quickly. And that'll bring up McKenna Mulholland.
Yeah, I mean, it really just, it all matters on that momentum. And right now it's kind of swinging in Ohio's favor when just mere minutes ago it looked like Ball State was going to be able to string together some runs or some hits.
Just a little low there from Miller. Still just the 1 hit. It was those 2 walks, and then they go for the double steal, and Matthews was adjudged to be out at third. It was because we've had a lot of those today, a lot of those close, tight plays. Some tough calls for these umpires to make. That's a chopped single back to Miller, and she's able to make the play. It was a low throw, but she got the job done. She has a little bit of a quizzical expression on her face, like, all right, it got the job done, and it does get the job done for the Ohio Bobcats. They get out of the no-out jam, and they take a 0-0 game into the bottom of the second. Alexis Stahl will get things going for Ohio, and she was the dominant factor in game number 1. 3 for 3, including a walk, 2 doubles, and a single. She was dominant in the plate, and now it's Frances King who has the unenviable opportunity to go against this. Long hold there from Timmons. She wanted that strike call, no dice. So 1-0 the count. That was something Ohio struggled with a little bit in that top of that inning, was getting behind in counts. It was something they did really well in the last game, was getting ahead in those counts. Another one that just misses the outside corner by a fraction.
Yeah, Alexis Stahl, she has just been on fire for the Bobcats. I mean, just scoring 3 times in the last game. I mean, she seems unstoppable right now, as she's already. I thought that was going to be caught a ball, but as
Nah, just caught the inside corner again. Pretty much all 3 of those pitches were in the very same vicinity, but only one of them was just able to catch the plate. Here's the 2-1, and now it's 3-1.
a nice little hitter's count right here for Dawn. We know she's aggressive at the plate. She's not drawing many walks. She is in there to hit, and I think that's what kind of her mindset is going forward, especially right now.
Yeah, we saw it as that is fouled off, so let's load the count full. Of course, just as there was when we were on for the first game, there is action over at Bob Wren. And Ohio has taken an early lead against the Eastern Michigan Eagles. They had a doubleheader as well. And Ohio ended up winning 8-4 as Daw strikes out. Frances King picks up her first strikeout of the day.
A big swing right there from Daw. A little bit uncharacteristic for her at this point. She's only struck out 7 times before that one. So
yeah, it was
she doesn't do it quite often.
It was a good payoff pitch. Seemed like it might have been one of those rise balls, as that one is fouled off and is into the cherry blossoms behind us. Those same cherry blossoms getting blasted with some of that cold as we wait for another ball to be put in play. There you go.
Sometimes when there's a lot of foul balls, it
Yeah,
takes a minute to kind of get some of them back.
We've had our fair few today.
Hoffner up. After having
that
a
one's
very successful day.
just a bit outside again. King is really trying to paint those corners. She's really making a conceited effort to get the outside edge. Hasn't quite happened for her yet in terms of getting those calls. She did get one in the last at bat. That one's high, ball 2.
No, excuse me. Emma up to bat.
Emma Hoffner, excuse me, who is made a nice play, and that'll get by. That's a fair ball down the left field line, and she's going to hold up at one. So a standing single for Emma Hoffner. And her bright start to game number 2 continues. Had a nice play behind the plate from the catcher spot, and now is on base in her first plate appearance, and that will bring up Sydney Grind.
First base runner for the Bobcats already, and of course, Emma Hoffner, who's had a very successful series thus far against Ball State. I mean, really almost every batter has just been doing their job for the Bobcats, and I think that's one of the things that Jenna Hall wanted to really touch on. She said whenever they hit, it's everybody. It's not just a few people. It's up and down the lineup, in her words.
Yeah, and that's really, you really saw it in the last. Ohio didn't hit a single home run in the game that we just saw earlier. No big shots, as this one is lifted high in the air to Green, and it is caught on the wall. What an insane catch by Mulholland. And they're saying that there was no, they wanted to check first to see if Hoffner hadn't tagged up Sydney Grind. That was almost one of the more iconic commentator things. I said they didn't hit a home run all last game, and then we almost next pitch see if that had a couple more feet on it, it is a home run. It was a great play by Mulholland.
I almost thought you were going to jinx it there, but by how hard she slammed into that wall out there's got to be a
it was close. It was a great play by Mulholland. She didn't really have to jump for it, but she still got up to it and made a nice play. And in the end, Hoffner does advance, so the Bobcats have a runner in scoring position. One of the more dramatic flyouts you'll see as Wessler's up to the plate. She had a nice day at the plate earlier today, as quickly behind 0-2 is Wessler.
Yeah, earlier Wessler was able to get 3 hits with 2 RBIs, one of those being a huge double for the Bobcats. So,
and there's strike 3 on 3 pitches. So after giving up the single, King is able to work her way through the 2 next batters, and we are deadlocked at 0 as we head to the 3rd inning. Back in Athens, where Sweet Child of Mine by Guns N' Roses blazes out over the speakers. We've got a festive crowd today.
Although it's been a cold one, we have had quite a bit of fans out here sticking around for both the softball and the baseball
Yeah,
team.
I took during the break in between the games, walked over to the baseball field. Saw a fair few of our four-legged friends over there, a few dogs in the house, and a couple other, there was a lot of young kids over at the baseball game. There are a few young kids over here as well watching and enjoying as Miller back on the mound. Is so far kept things in check. Just the one hit, 2 walks to 3 strikeouts. And the count is 1-1. Batting now, Remington Ross batted 9th, just like she was in the first game. That slap hitting style is what she's going for here. And she fouls that one off, so count is 1-2.
That one almost looked like she was trying to protect herself as it kind of broke in towards her. She just got it off the very kind of inside of her bat just to kind of fend it off.
1-2 the count. Here's the pitch, and it's high, 2-2. Well, you have to think if you're in the if you're in the Ball State dugout, you have to be pleased with how this game has started, considering that both of the last 2 games, they were already staring at big deficits by this time in the game.
Yeah, I mean, this is a big change of pace right now for the Bobcats. The last 2 games, they just jumped out quick, and they got those hits kind of early. So, in fact, we're in the 3rd inning now, and it's still zeros up there. It's a little bit interesting, and maybe Ball State is doing their job kind of adjusting to some of these bigger hits.
Yeah, certainly something that they needed to do after taking those losses. As there's strikeout number 4 for Skip Miller.
Seeing a lot of strikeouts so far this game. I mean, compared to last, there was 1 on each side of the ball, and so far there's been 4 for Skip and 2 for Ball State.
Yeah, both pitchers, King and Miller, doing their job so far. As now we're back to the top of the Cardinal order is Haley Wynn up to bat, and she takes a strike on the outside corner.
When she struck out earlier on in the game in her first at-bat, which isn't much like her because she is 2nd in the MAC in batting average. So her striking out probably isn't something that she's really used to doing.
Yeah, she is, we've talked up how good her statistics are and how she's near the top of the MAC in almost every category. It hasn't been her series. But, of course, with as many of these hitters are, one at bat is all it could take to shake something like that. And she did take that little bump in the first at bat of the first game where she ran out of play, and it seemed like she maybe just stepped on the first base bag wrong. It did need some attention to her leg, maybe her ankle area. Now she's got some new tape around that leg. She says she's moving fine, though, which is good. Here's the 1-2. It's a checked fly ball, and it's in between center and right, and in the end, the play is made. It's Logan out there calling off Keidel to make the play. It's 2 outs for the Bobcats.
Yeah, that's just an example of some good communication. We've seen some good communication from the Bobcats between a lot of these fly balls that it kind of looks like it could go either way. Like Logan could have grabbed it or Keidel could have grabbed it, but calling off early and eliminating just some unnecessary errors, I guess you could say, by having this communication.
Yeah, and there's another strike. Seems like Miller's found that groove that if she settles into could spell trouble.
Yeah, she really seems to be like working that outside corner now. A lot of her strikes she's just had were on that outside, showing a lot of movement too, the ball kind of breaking away.
Yeah, I agree with you on the movement. You can see that she's making a targeted effort to keep the ball away. And there it is again, pretty much the exact same pitch that catches that outside corner. And now quickly behind is Amaya Daniel.
I think she's kind of found her sweet spot here already, and she's really starting to heat up.
0-2 the count, looking for her 5th strikeout of this early matchup through 2 2/3. And it's a softly hit one. Will it fall for Grind? Yes, it will. So no strikeout, but she will certainly take the out. So through 3 innings, it's a solid 3 innings, just 1 hit ball so far from Skip Miller. We'll be back with the Bobcat Bats in the bottom of the 3rd. Cece Keidel going to lead things off for Ohio as we continue to spotlight women's sports. A big one today. The women's Final Four, the national championship game, as this one is floated high into the air. Will it fall? It will fall. And now digging for 2 is Cece Keidel, taking advantage of some sleepiness in the infield from the Cardinals, and she'll take her base. And it turns what could have been a pop out into basically a double.
Yeah, I mean, that was a really heads-up play right there by Keidel. And, I mean, we were just sitting here talking about the communication between these pop flies, and then, unfortunately, a disaster kind of for Ball State. But Keidel, it's really gutsy, to try to take 2 right there.
Yeah, but it was just that you had about 5-6 players sitting around the ball there, and nobody was really ready. And nobody was covering second. And off, especially with those shorter base paths that we've discussed today, it's an easy 2 bases. And now, just like that, Ohio with their 2nd hit of the day and their most threatening base runner to date. And as I was saying, with women's sports, a huge one today in Dallas at the American Airlines Center as the Iowa Hawkeyes take on the LSU Tigers. There's going to be a quick mound visit here, and that gives us an opportunity to talk about that game a little bit, as that game is just a few minutes away from tip-off at the American Airlines Center. How about the story of Caitlin Clark capturing the country's attention with how dominant her performances have been? What is it, back-to-back 40-point games or something like that? It's been an unbelievable story and performance from her in these finals. So I read a great stat somewhere where it's like, I believe Caitlin Clark by herself has scored more points than the entire Iowa football team did. Caitlin Clark in the postseason has scored more points than the entire Iowa football team did all year. I mean, obviously points are a lot different in football and basketball, but still just a wild stat to think about.
Yes, I mean, looking at it right now, it is an absolutely packed house down there in Dallas for this matchup. And you're right. I mean, Caitlin Clark, just one of the most dominant players across all sports right now. It's been really exciting to be able to follow her story, and really give the women's basketball tournament the kind of love and attention that it deserves.
Yeah, Angel Reese also for LSU, another player that's been in the national spotlight. Of course, Iowa knocked off the previously unbeaten South Carolina Gamecocks. They were 36-0, became 36-1 after Caitlin Clark got done with them. It's cool to see that obviously seeing all those people and seeing the interest that's gaining, because the women's game has obviously had so much. It's become such a focal point, especially the women's basketball tournament. It's been such a spectacle, especially this year, even more so than previous years. As O'Brien slaps one into the gap, and it was a bang-bang play out. That's first. The runner advanced to Keidel advanced to third, so O'Brien, in a way, does her job by advancing the runner. She doesn't make it on base, but she does advance Keidel to third, and that will bring up back to the top of the order for the Bobcats. That'll bring up Hummel.
Yeah, and I mean, like you said, it may go down as not getting a hit, but just moving her over into scoring position can help this team out a lot, especially considering there's only one out. And now we're kind of getting up to the big part of this Ohio Bobcats lineup with Hummel, Logan, and Paoli due up.
Yeah, and this is the part of the lineup that you really, I mean, we've talked about how it's been a full team effort. There's not really one weak spot of the lineup. They've had success at every spot, but like when you look at the statistics and you look at purely just on the sheet stats, the top of the lineup is terrifying. We've talked about how good Logan is, how dominant Paoli is, and then how great Daw's been in the past, and then especially today in general. It's a fearsome 2, 3, 4 spot, and then Hummel as well has been a solid leadoff hitter, getting on base consistently and doing her job. It's not a set of batters you want to face right now, especially with how hot the bats have been over the past few days and weeks. No team in the MAC really wants to take on these Bobcats right now. As that one slapped in the gap, that's a base hit, and we have our first run of the game. Belle Hummel with an RBI single brings home Keidel, and the Bobcats take a 1-0 lead in the bottom of the third.
A beautifully placed hit right there for Hummel. This might be the kind of momentum that the Bobcats were looking for. And that 5-6 hole over there has kind of been just one of those things for Ball State that Ohio has just capitalized on. And I mean, it's really hard to play those hard balls, but in the game yesterday, Ohio hit probably 5 or 6 through that exact same gap. So.
No, I don't disagree. We've seen the hitters just pick their poison. I think that's been the big theme today. We haven't seen any home runs today. We haven't seen any real moon outside of that one just earlier from Grind that almost went out. We haven't even really seen any close to home runs. As just diving back there is Hummel to make sure she's safe. We haven't seen that bomb today, but they've done it the gritty way. They found runs with those singles. They've gotten on base. They've taken walks. They've just found ways to get the job done. And so far, you can't complain if you're Coach Hall, as once again, Hummel thinks about it, and Timmons pump fakes over to the right side.
Timmons is just one of those aggressive players by nature, and maybe that's why she makes such a good catcher here for Ball State. She's just aggressive, and she likes to command the field. You can just tell by being up here. Yeah,
and a good frame as well for a catcher, all 6 feet. Very useful as well to make sure those balls don't get by her. I can't remember. I think she had one pass ball in the last game, and it wasn't even really a pass ball. It was just one that kind of bounced off her glove. And that one is just outside.
You can really see her trying to frame it up right there, but
yeah, we've seen some. Framing is an art, and it's an art that obviously, with the whole debate about robot umpires and stuff, it's an art that may die sooner rather than later. But as a catcher, it's something that is special, and that's hit hard into center, and it is off the wall. Round comes Hummel. She will score standing, and it's an RBI double for Yaz Logan, and the Bobcats extend the lead 2-0 in the bottom of the third.
Right there for Logan, and maybe if that was hit yesterday when we had all these wind gusts, that would have been over the wall. But
I mean, that one that we had earlier from Grind was definitely a homer if the wind's blowing out. But then again, if the wind was blowing in the way it was yesterday, it might have been an infield pop-up. So that's the unpredictability of the weather here in A-Town.
Analia Paoli up now.
Yeah, Paoli rips one down the line, just foul. That would have scored Logan if it got by.
Logan,
And
once
count
again,
0-1.
proven to just be a game changer here for the Bobcats and just a dominant force.
Yeah, and having so many hitters that can do that, and that's I think the biggest strength of this Bobcat offense is having so many of these hitters that you can come up clutch in key moments. We back to back as Paoli now just continues the trend. That's over the head of the outfielder Mulholland. Logan will score easily, and it is another one. 3 straight hits, 3 straight runs, and the Bobcats jumping on it now, 3-0. They lead over Ball State.
I mean, back-to-back, just beautifully hit balls. I think Ohio, I mean, they went all the way through their lineup, kind of struggled their first time around, but now that everyone's kind of getting to see what Francis can bring the second time around, they're really kind of starting to dial in and kind of got her number here.
Yeah, now just a quick infielder visit, just reassuring King. As now Dawes up to the plate. She already has 2 doubles to her name, as we've seen back-to-back doubles now from Logan and Paoli. Daw would be keen to make it 3 in a row. And there's a strike on the outside corner.
Able to lay off of that one. I think she kind of looked like she wanted to attack on it. I'd seen a little bit of a flinch, but she laid off.
As that one is high in the air to left, and it is just out of play into the Bobcats bullpen. Excuse me. F. Matthews was the one who made the effort to try and get over there. And it was a good effort.
She almost looked like she would have jumped that fence to try to get that ball out. I mean, anything for this defense to try to get Paoli out.
Yeah, 0-2 now. The Daw quickly down. There's only 1 out in this. And just missing that one outside is King. So 1-2 is the count.
Nicely placed pitch there, just missed the mark by a hair almost.
Yeah, again, just a hair this time high. That'll give Daw one more chance. 2-2 now, the count. For Alexis Daw, of course. Has been dominant so far today. Can she keep things going? She gets great contact out into right center, and that is off the wall again. Back-to-back doubles for the Bobcats. And we just talked about how dominant the top of this order is. All 3 of them doubled right there. Logan, Paoli, and then Daw, back-to-back doubles, and the Bobcats have a 4 spot here in the 3rd.
Now, those last 2 were almost in the exact same position. I mean, really, right out there, a little bit between center and right field, off the wall. That one was close. I thought maybe it would hit off the ambulance out there in the outfield, but Ohio Spirits seem to be up as they're dancing.
Yeah, you're right. It looked like it was real close to heading out of here. It was certainly not far away. Again, not as much. We didn't see a ton of long balls in the last game. We've already seen more in just 2 1/3 innings of this one.
Well, once again, Ethan, I think you might have announced or cursed them, because we were just talking about how we haven't been seeing the long balls. It's been more singles and short ones in the infield, and finally Ohio is starting to really break open and get a lot of these.
I think the approach maybe is changing here through the second time. Again, like you mentioned, after seeing what King brought through the first run through the order, and now you give these hitters another opportunity after you see that first at bat and you get that first battle against the hitter, or against the pitcher, excuse me. That one's high, so quickly 2-0 Hoffner.
It'll be interesting to see what Ball State really does with the pitching situation. I mean, they still haven't thrown in Angelina Rousseau yet today, who has the lowest ERA.
As this one is high in the air, it's short, and it'll be fielded over and left by Matthews. So the double streak ends for Ohio, but the inning does not. There is still Daw over there at second, and that'll bring up Sydney Grine, who was about 2 feet away from a home run herself, but was robbed by Mulholland in her first at-bat.
But like I was mentioning, it's interesting to see they haven't put in Angelina Rousseau yet today. She started yesterday's game, and she has actually pitched more than anybody else with 76 innings of her own.
Yeah, so I'm sure I do see a little bit of it. There's no current pitching going on in the bullpen, but there are people in there. Obviously, we don't have cameras in there. We can't quite make out what's going on inside of that bullpen. But I'd expect that at the very least, as that catches the very inside corner, you'd expect to see probably another pitcher from Ball State. Obviously they got innings out of Eubank earlier. Eubank who hadn't pitched much all year. As that one is ripped down the line, and it is just foul. That was bringing home Alexis Daw easily. Daw was already rounding third by the time the ball dropped.
But Rousseau for the Cardinals, I mean, she's had 52 strikeouts on the year. She has the lowest ERA of anybody in the pitching room. So it makes you wonder, maybe if she hurt, does she need a break, or why they haven't really used her yet?
It's an interesting one. It may be. I have a feeling maybe we may see her later, depending on how the things are. It also does appear like Ball State has a little bit deeper of a rotation in terms of they have, obviously, Rousseau has pitched 78 innings, but then they have 3 other girls. We saw Murphy earlier, but then King, who's on the mound right now, and then Alyssa Stramaglia have all pitched over 30 innings. So, with Ohio, you've got the 2 mean, key pitchers in Kaufelt and Miller, and they kind of just trade off. And it's not as deep of a starting thing, but I think with Ball State, there's just more creativity in the starters. As that one is hard hit into center, and it is caught out there by Ross. So the inning ends, but not before serious damage done by the middle of the Bobcats order. Double, double, double from Logan, Paoli, and Daw. 4 runs end up scoring, and the Bobcats carry a 4-0 lead into the 4th. Andre 3000 said he was sorry, Miss Jackson, but I don't think the Ohio lineup was going to apologize for what they just did to Ball State. 4 runs in the bottom of the 3rd inning to take a lead. And once again, they get on top, right? In all 3 of these games, the common theme is, even in this game where they didn't quite get off to the best start, they went through the lineup the first run through the lineup was pretty quiet. But then in that 3rd inning, it was an offensive explosion. And once again now for Ball State, you got to bounce back. You have to find a way to get back into this ball game after Ohio has once again jumped into an early lead as we are in the top of the 4th. Of course, this is going to be a 7-inning matchup due to the fact that it's a doubleheader. Remains to be seen if we get that far, as that one is real inside from Miller. Almost hit the batter Timmons.
Timmons, she had that home run in the game yesterday, but other than that, she's been really quiet since then. She had a fly out earlier, but and a strikeout in the game, the first game today. So looking to see if she's going to make any more noise with her bat. I mean, she's already picked up 3 balls, but.
Yeah, Miller quickly down 3-0, batters count. We'll see if Timmons has a green light here. We gave up a 4-pitch walk to start the second inning, didn't lead to any runs. And that's in there for a strike.
I mean, she's proven to be a game changer for the Cardinals, but they're still trying to need to string some hits together. I mean, just like Ohio did last inning, just a couple of hits, and it's a completely different ballgame.
Yeah, the biggest thing is that Ohio's just limited damage this entire series. As that one gets away from Miller, that's high, so that'll be a walk for Timmons. They've been able to keep innings to 1-2 runs max. It hasn't they haven't been able to do what they haven't allowed Ball State to do what they just did, which is put up that 4 spot, chain off those doubles and find that momentum. They haven't allowed, even when they played a run or two, they haven't allowed them to have that big monster inning. As that one gets away, and I think there was a little bit of, it was too caught up in the feet of Samantha Jomata for that to be allowed to be a steal attempt. So back goes Timmons to first base.
I think she fouled it off of herself, but from the umpire's angle, he wasn't able to see it quite yet. So always try until it's blown dead, I guess.
Yeah, and that's why we got 3 umpires here. It's a crew of Joseph Malsek and Gavin Ramsey and Paul Melcher. Malsek is behind the plate today for this game. We had Melcher behind the plate in the last game.
1-1 now for Mata.
That one is foul.
Mata had a pretty successful game earlier today. She was able to pick up one of the Ball State's 5 hits, where they've been struggling is to kind of put their bats together, but she was able to get one of them. So.
Yeah, 1-2 the count here. Obviously, you got Timmons over on first base.
No outs so far.
And that's low, 2-2. Just the 1 hit so far through 3 innings. And a couple of walks issued, 3 of them from Miller, but just the 1 hit to the 4 strikeouts. So
taking another peek at their hitting summary. I mean, Ohio is 6 for 15, meaning they're .400 right now as a team, and compared to Ball State, they're only 1-9.
That one is high and away. So 3-2 the count here as Miller tries to stop a rally.
Another full count here for Skip Miller. At least Ball State's doing a better job of working the pitchers this game.
Yeah, that one may have taken a nick off the foot there of Mata.
With the cold, that probably
Yeah.
hurt a little bit more than usual.
Yeah, she limps back over to the box. Still 3-2 the count. And he just kind of shakes her head over at her head coach. Sure, and it's just like, sure, I'm all right.
It might have been off the inside of her thigh. I kind of can't tell where she's.
Yeah, it seems like maybe her calf area. She did motion down there.
It's 3-3.
So she steps back into the box. The count remains full after the foul ball. Here is the full count pitch from Miller. And it's hit softly, and it might fall, and it does fall. Logan can't quite come up with it. It was another one that's just in that tough spot. That's not easy for anybody to play. Again, you have 3 fielders converging around it. We already saw a Bobcat hit fall in that same sort of area. And Logan got a glove on it, but just couldn't quite make it happen. And now Ball State with an opportunity to immediately respond after giving up the 4 spot in the third. They have a runner on first and second here with nobody out. We saw the situation just a couple of innings ago. And Miller was able to get out of it thanks to her catcher.
Yeah, I mean, that ball was placed kind of in that no man's land right there between the infield and the outfield. Those balls are always hard to get.
And that bunt is up and over the backstop from Matthews.
Yeah, not exactly what you want to do with the bunt. You more so want to just hit it straight into the ground so they don't have an opportunity to get under it and catch it. But we'll see if she gets the bunt sign yet again. It's obvious they're trying to move their runners over into scoring position because there's no outs. Willing to sacrifice one here.
Yeah, Matthews, Texas native. That one's high, so 1-1 from the El Paso area. And now playing her college ball in Muncie, Indiana.
Yeah, I have to wonder if she's enjoying the cold up here. She's
Yeah.
probably used to it.
Well,
being
obviously,
pretty warm.
in the last game, we discussed a little bit about how there's a little bit of an Australian contingency in the Ball State ranks, as this one is bunted down and right into the glove. So it was right into the glove of Wessler, who had come up from third. Heads up hitting. I think Matthews was a little frustrated with herself there, as that bunt kind of went up in the air. It's not what's supposed to happen with a bunt. And that'll be an easy out and no runners advance. So, again, exactly what the Bobcats were looking for in the field.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of a tough break right there. That's not exactly what you kind of were hoping to do at the plate, and it kind of just wasted an out for Cardinals.
This one is hit hard. It might fall. It will not. And just like that, 2 very quick outs. As looking for the first pitch was Arminda Rees. Couldn't find it, and that was Sydney Grine, who was right over there. Was able to catch the pop out right on the edge of the outfield.
It seems like almost every time Ball State starts to build a little bit of momentum, something happens. They get thrown out at third, or a choppy bunt, or something. It's just it seems like they just keep kind of having momentum killers at this point.
I agree. It's been a struggle for them to find that groove throughout the weekend. They haven't been able to get that killer blow per se. They've been able to land punches, but they haven't been able to find the knockout. Probably the best way to put it. And again, here they have landed a punch or two in this inning, but they haven't been able to find that KO punch to win the round per se.
Yeah, I mean, they've just been kind of struggling from a consistency standpoint. Just haven't really, they'll get a good hit here and there, but they haven't really just been able to put it together, which coming into this series, they had won 6 of their last 7 games. So this probably does kind of feel like a punch in the gut for them.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't help that they ran into the hottest team in the MAC. That one is high in the infield. Coming in is O'Brien. There was a little bit of a knock there. Mata was trying to get around her, and she couldn't really get around her. There might have been an interesting call there if she had dropped it. But she didn't. And the Bobcats get out of a 2 runners on with nobody out jam and continue to put those zeros on the scoreboard. And we go to the bottom of the 4th with the Bobcats leading 4-0. Bobcats looking to pad their lead here in the bottom of the fourth. We're halfway through game number 2, so we're 3/4 of the way through our softball action here from Ohio University. Big shout out to all of our people working behind the scenes. Jordan Bose, we got Zach Vogler with us working behind.
Morgan Anderson.
Morgan Anderson doing our work. We got our guys on the camera. Shout out to everybody working with us today. So thank you very much. And because we used to not be able to put these on multicam, you know. We used to it just would be a one cam kind of up where we're sitting here on the press boxes. That one's fouled off by Wessler. But now, and thanks to Jordan and a lot of the guys that we work with at the Ohio University ESPN3 club, we're able to make these multicam productions, which allows for a lot more student experience, which is great and really useful for everybody. And I'm sure you'll hear more students here on the calls as well, like myself and Chloe. You obviously heard Carl yesterday with Chloe on the call. Carl Blaylock, who works over at the station, and does a lot of good work here for Ohio ESPN3. But obviously, just as much as a lot of us work in front of the camera in terms of calling the games, a lot of us work just as much behind the camera with directing, producing, and especially for the indoor season for the basketball and the volleyball games that go on ESPN3 and ESPN Plus. And our goal one day is to have all those sports and all these sports that we do now get on ESPN Plus, ESPN3 as well. It's a long process, but it's one that we hope to speed up sooner rather than later, as that one just hits off the end of the bat of Daw.
I mean, she's fighting. No, not Daw. Wessler is fighting early here in.
Yeah, down 1-2 in the count. She struck out looking in her last at-bat. And this one is hit hard into right center and caught by Mulholland. It wasn't really right center. It was more just right field, right over by those Ohio MAC Tournament Championship banners.
A quick out right there for the Cardinals as CC Kydell comes up to bat.
Yeah. Kydell, who had that bloop single that started that rally in the third. That bloop single, then she was able to get to second, and then it all kicked off from there for Ohio. Everybody was able to get in on the action after that.
Quick strike right there for King. She started off against Wessler with 2 quick strikes as well, so she might be finding her groove a bit right here.
Yeah, that one gets away from the catcher, Timmons. Count 1-1. Of course, Ohio looking to win their 9th game in a row. An impressive number for, of course, first-year head coach Jenna Hall. Obviously has experience in this program, has experience in Athens County. But to come in and have this hot of a season as that one, the bunt gets by there.
Especially after last season. The Bobcats had a bit of a down year, I guess you could say. Last season they struggled a lot to pick up wins, but they've really kind of turned things around, specifically in MAC play. They've only lost 2.
Yeah, to be 9-2, those only 2 losses, of course, came here a couple weeks ago to Miami. But since then, they've been impeccable. It's been 8 wins in a row, trying to make it 9 right here. And they'll get another crack at Miami. They will play Miami later in the year. Excuse me, they actually won't play Miami again this season. They only get 1 series against each MAC opponent because there's no divisional structure like there are in some of the sports. It's just one big conference. You play 1 series pretty much against every team. So looking ahead for Ohio as the 2-2 is hit foul and it drops. A big one coming up on Tuesday. They are traveling the short bus trip up to Columbus to take on Ohio State. Of course, last year the Buckeyes came down here to Athens and played. And imagine the feeling inside Columbus if the Ohio Bobcats walked in with a 9-game win streak. And that'd be something to look ahead towards. It could be a real fun matchup in Columbus.
Yeah, I mean, although they don't typically play in sports, it is a little bit of a rivalry, you know. Both teams being from Ohio.
Yeah, anytime a team play, I mean, there are obviously a fair few amount of colleges here in Ohio, as that one just catches the inside corner, strike 3, as Keidel goes down looking. When you look at a lot of these, I mean, obviously you got a lot of these teams in the MAC that are in Ohio. Look, teams like Kent State, Toledo, Bowling Green, all those are in the northern part of the state. Then you got Miami and Oxford, closer to Cincinnati. And then obviously you have a team like Ohio State, which is such a big property and such a big school that, you know, obviously their football team is phenomenal. Their basketball team has had great years. Every program is very acclaimed and strong. And to be able to play them, you know, it doesn't come around very often in any of these sports. Obviously, the women's team, the women's basketball team hosted Ohio State. Obviously, they had a great year. The Ohio State women's basketball team just crashed out the late 80s. That one gets by the bag. That'll be a single for Tori O'Brien. She thought about going a second. I think she makes a smart call there to hold up. Throw would have been in time. So it's a single for Tori O'Brien, and don't let this top of the lineup get hot again. Even with 2 outs, Hummel's back up to the bag. She brought in a run in her last at-bat.
I was going to say, we speak about the Bobcats traveling up to Columbus to take on the Bobcats. They are no stranger to some of these big-name teams. Early in the season, they went down south, and they played LSU in Central Arkansas.
Yeah.
And when asking Coach Jenna Hall about how that prepared them for the season, she said they weren't really, you know, going in there looking and expecting to bring out big wins, but they were more so looking to develop their team.
Yeah.
She said, who do we want to be when we get to mid-March? And I think in the long run, it's really helped them out because they are peaking right here, right at the right time in their season.
Yeah, and Central Arkansas, for those who don't know, one of the better mid-major teams in all of college softball. They routinely go in and beat bigger teams like the LSUs and the SEC programs and the Big 12 programs of the world. So that is a very, very good matchup to have early in the season for the Bobcats to test themselves against a team like that. As that one just across the inside corner, or the outside corner, excuse me, and it's 1-2 now, the count to Hummel.
And, I mean, when they played Central Arkansas, they only lost by 1 run. And, I mean, that one has to, you know, really sting, but.
Yeah, it was a close game. They went to a number of tournaments early in the year, these kind of these weekend invitationals where they play a few games against, you know, a couple different teams at one stadium, and it really does, I think, help build your team. And I think that Jenna Hall hit the nail on the head. As that one's high again, Timmons just every time it seems like she's threatening those runners. Hey, I dare you to run because I'm going to throw you out. Haven't seen a ton of steal attempts today from Ohio.
Well,
Only really on pass balls have they advanced.
When you face an aggressive catcher like Timmons who always has her eye on it, you don't want to push her so much.
And the punch out on the full count. Just on the outside corner. Frances King does a good job in that inning after getting beat up a lot in the third. She bounces back well in the fourth, putting up a 0 and allowing Ball State to stick around as we head to the top of the 5th. back in Athens here for another competitive game. A more competitive game than we've seen in the past 2 games between Ohio and Ball State. 4-0 Ohio, but in the past we've seen Ball State be down 8-9 runs by this point.
Yeah, I mean, it is only 4 runs, and sometimes all you need is just a couple of singles, and it could really change things up.
But that's the biggest thing and the biggest problem that Ball State have had throughout this series is not being able to fully take advantage of opportunities. They've left a number, even in this game and in the last game and in the game we saw yesterday, they've left a number of base runners on base, and they haven't been able to bring them home. And that one bounces low.
I think that's been one of their biggest problems throughout the whole entire series is just leaving runners stranded. And I think sometimes it comes down to your lineup, and I think they've kind of tweaked their lineup between each game. So I think they're still kind of trying to find the right formula right now, especially considering who's hot, who's not, depending on the series.
Absolutely. That was a nice catch by the catcher. Doing her job is Hoffner, but that was a very high pitch. She was able to snag it. Wouldn't have mattered if it got by her. There's nobody on base. As of yet, 2 balls and a strike to Mulholland, who's had an interesting game, had a really nice catch over there in right field to Rob. Right, and that's a hard hit ball into right field, and that's going to land fair. It's off the wall. She's going to come around for 2, and she'll stand up. Oh, a standing double to get things going in the top of the 5th for Ball State.
She got every piece of that ball. I think if it hadn't have gone so high, maybe a little more out, that could have been banging off that building out there in left field. But that one, it was just fair by maybe a foot. Really good placement.
It was really close. It was pretty much right underneath the if you see where the left fielder is aligned, it was about 15, 20 feet to the left of the left fielder Hummel. And she was able to get up and toss it in. As the bunt is laid down, it's a good one. And out at first is Ross. That was a real close one.
Really close.
And you can see the assistant there for Ball State kind of asking the question, like, it's Jordan McNary over there, and she was kind of asking, like, hey, I'm not so sure about that one. Of course, they'll take that if they're Ball State. Once again, that's the small ball coming in and working, getting that runner over to third base.
Unfortunately, we don't have the ability to replay, but if we could, this would be one of those times that would really come in handy. And whenever that call was made, the whole crowd kind of erupted in like, what? Oh.
Yeah.
One of those tough calls.
I mean, we've seen a lot of bang calls today. That's kind of the nature of softball, is that with how short everything is and with how the game just works as a whole, you're going to see a lot of those real close calls. And obviously we don't have the luxury of like a replay system or anything like that to fix it, as that one is inside for ball 1. So the call on the field is the call that's going to work. So I think the most of these umpires know that that's the role that they have to play, and that's how it works most of the time. And usually things smooth over regardless. As Miller, that one was low by a hair. Couldn't have missed by much for Miller.
And I mean, despite Ross being called out, Mulholland was able to move on over to third, which technically it means that she did do her job. She moved the runners. Yeah,
it was a nicely placed bunt once again, as that one is hit high in the air to right field, and it is gone.
Haley Wynn.
Yeah, we've been talking about how she is that power hitter, and she hasn't really been able to find it in this series. Well, she just found it at a very opportune time. Cut the deficit in half, 4-2 Ohio.
And just like that, this game has a much different feel, especially Ball State only has 1 out. They have Amaya Daniel and Michaela Timmons coming up. Some really hard hitters in their lineup.
The top of their lineup now will come up. And And now Skip Miller has the task of settling back in. Things were going well through 4 innings as that one was inside. And now she just couldn't find that, left that pitch a little bit too over the plate. And when you have a hitter that's as talented as Haley Wynn, can't do that. And she made her pay with a nice blast right by where their bus is sitting at over on the far side. That one is hit high in the air as well, but this one's a bit shorter. And that one will be caught by Keidel. So a nice way to settle back in there for Miller. A fly out to right center. And that will bring up Timmons.
Timmons already hit a home run once this series. Been kind of struggling at the plate, but she was able to get on in the last at bat with a walk. And she was able to get all the way to second. But working with 2 outs now, nobody on.
Yeah, for the first time there, really, all day today at least, it's the first time there's a strike in there from Miller. First time that we've really seen Ball State take advantage of an opportunity and fully take advantage of it as well. And it all came off one swing of the bat from Haley Wynn. And that's all they needed, and this is a ball game once again. Just a two-run separate the sides. As that one is just a little low. 1-1. Miller trying to get out of this inning and limit the damage in the 5th. That is a 2 spot currently for Ball State, but nobody else on as of now.
Back-to-back off-speed pitches from Miller.
That one is hit hard and caught by Daw. It was hit kind of strangely, spun off the bat, but in the end it was caught well by Daw. So the Bobcats absorbed their first blow of the game. A 2-run shot from Haley Wynn cuts the deficit in half from 4-0 to 4-2, and the Bobcats will have a chance to respond in the bottom of the 5th. Pitching change in here for the Cardinals as they just cut the deficit in half, 4-2. Facing Yasmin Logan to start things off is going to be a talented pitcher. We talked about her earlier. And we talked about how dominant that she has been in the past. Angelina Russo was going to take over Chloe. We talked about how she has been kind of that pitcher for Ball State, kind of the lead person, and she has the lowest ERA in the squad.
Yeah, her ERA is at 2.93, and she's had about 52 strikeouts. So it's interesting they waited until this point to bring her in. But right now, Ball State's in a position where they could find themselves taking the lead if they're able to kind of shut down this Bobcat offense. And they're starting off with Yaz Logan, who,
And now, you could give Russo has to come in and has the unenviable task of facing these 3 hitters in a row of Logan, Paoli, and Daw, who have been the 3 that have done the most damage in the box for the Bobcats. Russo steadies. She Softly hit ball to Logan. There's nobody there. Nobody covered first base. And Logan races off to second. And might be the first error of the game for Ball State. I believe it is.
And that right there for Yaz Logan, it just proves that's how you make something out of nothing. I mean, looking at it from a statistical standpoint, you wouldn't think she'd make it there. But
yeah,
first baseman and second baseman going after it.
Exactly, and that it's just a lack of communication there from the Ball State outfielders, just not being able to communicate, or the infielders, Mata and I believe that's
Win.
Yeah, it is Win. Win moved into second there. It was she hasn't been playing there all day, but she is playing there now. Maybe that's part of it, because it's a different person playing over there, and they weren't communicating. And then the pitcher, Russo, also had a shot to run over there, and then nobody really was able to cover first. Paoli sharply hit down the right field line and foul. 0-2. Paoli quickly behind. But the Bobcats now, this could be so huge to get back on top. Excuse me.
I was gonna say I didn't know exactly who it was that fielded the ball, but then they proceeded to toss it, and it essentially gave Yaz an extra base right there that she didn't have to have.
Yeah, and it's a tough one, because you have obviously somebody has to cover the bag, but everybody was kind of expecting somebody else to. Paoli, the runner's checked. Logan is heading over to third, and she's safe. It was a real bang play, and now I think he's gonna. There's gonna have a discussion. I'm not sure what the discussion can really be here for Lacey Scher, because I don't think you can't really challenge a ruling. I think she just wanted clarification. She just wanted, okay, what you see, that sort of thing. It was a quick discussion, maybe a sentence, and now she trots back over to the dugout. So in the end, a little bit unorthodox, but Paoli does a job by moving Logan up to third. So now with one out, Alexis Daw is up to the plate. Already one double today, 3 doubles in total today, 2 in the first game and now 1 in this game. So it's been an explosive day from the bat of Alexis Daw. And another hit here could potentially give her yet another RBI.
Yeah, and I mean, there's been a lot of close calls and a lot of close plays here today. And I mean, being an umpire, it sometimes seems like you can't do no right. No matter the choices you make, someone's always going to be upset. And I almost feel bad for them having to make a lot of these tough calls.
A broken bat from Daw. Daw was not expecting that. You don't see broken bats in softball very often. I'll say that much. You see him in baseball a lot, because those are the wooden bats, and the ball can break the bat a lot. But these are aluminum bats. Those are not easy to break. And I think that she was more confused than anything. So she's out. She didn't even run, because I think she was just very confused. Who knows if that bat actually meant a lot to her or not.
Well, these bats are actually made out of composite, and a big thing is it being cold. These bats don't really do well in the cold, and that could have just been kind of the breaking point of that bat, especially if it's been used a lot by her.
That is high. So now, it's recorded as just a ground out. I'll bring up Hoffner. Still the runner is on third. 2 outs now for Ohio. There's an off-speed, lovely off-speed pitch there from Russo.
Unfortunately for Ohio, Logan wasn't able to score on that one, but heads up right there for Ball State for kind of continuing the play, even though a little bit of funkiness was going on.
And really, I mean, Daw didn't really know what was happening. She was like, I think just seeing the bat break and was like, whoa, like what happens? And then, even if she does run it out, I think it's probably still a play that is made by the Cardinals. It was a relatively routine ground ball regardless, but Russo now re-steadies, and this one is grounded up the middle, and Russo makes the play. So with a runner on second with nobody out, Russo is able to navigate the error and make the play. And the Ball State Cardinals down just 2 with a chance to dent the Ohio lead in the top of the 6th. Skip Miller back out there for the 6th inning. It's been a solid outing from her so far. Just the 2 runs on the home run in the last inning from obviously a very talented hitter in Haley Wynn. 5 innings, 4 hits, those 2 earned runs, 3 walks, 4 strikeouts. All 4 of them came in the first 2 innings. As Samantha Jo Mata now up to the plate. She hits one hard and lifted into right field, and under it is Keidel. So a quick out for the Bobcats, exactly what the doctor ordered for Skip Miller.
Yeah, and I mean, she's had a very impressive outing. It's all of the runs that's been hit on her have come from home runs between yesterday and today. So that's a little bit of an interesting stat. Other than those 2 home runs, she's been phenomenal.
Yeah, just limiting the damage, I guess you could say. Obviously, when the damage comes in one swing, it seems like that might be Miller's kryptonite. But as of now, she is getting the job done, and she is limited, obviously, outside of the 1 home run. She has limited the Ball State offense, just the 4 hits today. There's a strike in there. 1-1 to count.
A beautiful curve ball right there from Miller.
Here comes the 1-1. It's in there for a strike. 1-2 the count.
That one finding that outside corner that time.
Yeah, this is Matthews. We've seen that placement come from a number of different areas today for Miller. She's been able to find both the inside and the outside corner, especially the outside corner, it feels like at times. It's where she really thrives. That one was off the plate, 2-2.
Those outside pitches are they're a lot harder to hit and make good contact with them. Oftentimes the inside pitches are the ones that these batters really turn on and are able to produce those home runs and those doubles and triples.
Yeah, no, I agree. And as Miller, that one is just inside. Well, not just inside, but almost just inside enough that it almost hit Caitlin Matthews, who was up to the bat. She reached in the 2nd on a walk and flew out in the 5th.
For a lot of batters.
Strike 3. There's Matthews goes down swinging, so Miller is able to find her 5th strikeout of the day, and that'll bring up Arminda Rees, who after playing 2nd in the first game, now is the designated player in this game for the Cardinals. As I was mentioning on that one play, Wynn is in 2nd in this one, and maybe that communication, Mata's played 1st in both games, maybe the communication wasn't as optimal as it could have been. And obviously it didn't end up leading to anything on the scoreboard, but it did lead to a runner on base. for the Bobcats. And now here is Armandares. Miller through 5 2/3. She checks the thing and finds the off speed. That was a beautiful pitch.
Yeah, you're right about that one. Absolutely beautiful changeup right there. It fell just right there in the zone. And it's always hard whenever the pitcher opens up with an off speed. They don't do it too often, but when they do, it really does throw batters off guard.
We've seen that from both pitchers today. We've seen Kaufelt, who did it in the first game, and Miller now in this game going for that. Now here's Armandares. It's over to third, and it's a routine play for Wessler over to Daw, and the Bobcats get the Cardinals to go down 1-2-3 in order, and they're just an inning away from another series sweep. We'll be back with the Bobcats offense in the bottom of the 6th. Bottom of the 6th here in Athens, Ohio. It is a little bit warmer than when we started off today. We started off as about probably the low 40s, about 41, 42 degrees. I think now we've gotten up to about 48, 49 degrees. So by April standards, it's still a fairly chilly day here in Athens, as that one just gets away from Rousseau a little bit. 1-0 the count. Of course, on the other diamond at Bob Wren Stadium, the Bobcat baseball team's also looking for a doubleheader sweep. They're going against the Eastern Michigan Eagles, and they're currently up 6-3. They had that comeback win yesterday, which was really awesome to see, and then were able to win 8-4 in game number 1, which was earlier today. Ended right about the same time that our first game ended, and they started right about the same time that our second game started. They're currently in the bottom of the 7th, warming up for that right now. 3-0 the count quickly to the Bobcat hitter, Sydney Grind, excuse me.
Yeah, Grind has kind of struggled so far this game. She hasn't been able to get on base, and she was the third out in her first 2 at-bats, which always kind of makes you feel bad when you're the last one, but she's able to make it on base this time.
Yeah, 4-pitch walk. Nothing the Bobcats would like more than some insurance right here, as their lead is easily the most precarious they've held all weekend. Obviously, the 4-2 is the score as of now. Now here is Wessler, who is also 0 for 2. Strikeout looking in the second, and then a fly out to Mulholland in right field in the 4th.
Timmons once again, being a little bit threatening down there to Grind.
Yeah. And
5th ball in a row now for Rousseau.
There's a swing and a miss. So after 5 straight balls, Rousseau finally able to get back into it. 1-1 now, the count to Wessler.
Wessler, she struck out looking way back in the 2nd inning. And then she fielded out to right field in her last at bat in the 4th. So right now it's 2-1 and looking to maybe get something done here, although she had a successful first 2 games. Aside from the 3 doubles, we haven't seen much from the bats of the Bobcats.
That one's in there for a strike. 2-2 the count. As we continue to chip away here in the 6th. No outs. And there's strike 3. Russo gets her first strikeout.
Wessler's second strikeout of the game so far.
Yeah, and we've mentioned about how the plate discipline hasn't quite been there in this game like it was in the last game for both teams. Both teams only had 1 strikeout in total in the last game.
And now both have had 5.
Yeah.
It's really interesting to kind of see the dynamic shift just between games 30 minutes later.
Yeah, something really interesting to point out that I just happened to notice is that as of probably just a few minutes ago, Ohio now lead the MAC. Western Michigan fell today in their matchup. So with that loss, that drops them down from they obviously, as Chloe mentioned in the last broadcast, they lost a series due to weather. So they have a series they still need to make up, or well, it will be determined if they will end up making it up or not. But they have significantly less conference games. That series was against, I believe, Buffalo. So Buffalo's 4-1, Western Michigan's 3-1, but Ohio is 9-2. So they've obviously played a lot more conference games than both of those teams. And that one is outside, so 3-0 quickly the count.
And I mean the Bobcats, they've just been, dominating in a dominating fashion.
Yeah. Yeah, Ball State currently sit in 5th as of now in the MAC, 6-4 conference record. There's a nice off-speed pitch from Russo that gets in there for a strike. 16-15 is their record. The Bobcats are 18-14 with the 9-2 conference record. And looking for their 9th win in a row. Buffalo's red hot too. They've won 4 in a row. And there's another strike. Painted the outside corner.
I don't think Cece
Keidel, yeah, had half
really
a mind to head to first base. Umpire had other ideas.
That one was kind of a low in the zone outside one. So.
Yeah, it was a close call. Now count is full, so 3-2 here. Keidel versus Russo. Payoff is hit softly to short. On the run, the play is not made. It was always a tough play over there for Daniel. Amaya Daniel over there trying to pick up the shortstop dig, and it just didn't. It was always going to be a tough play. It was deep. She got it really deep in the infield, almost had her heels on the outfield wall, or excuse me, the outfield grass. And the play, by the time she was able to get the ball, they already had Grine over there at second. And Keidel's able to dig in, get an infield single.
Yeah, it kind of looked like Daniel when she came up. It looked like she kind of lost her footing, her back foot.
Yeah,
slipped a little bit. That might have taken away some of her power in her throw, especially with it hopping in there.
Yeah. O'Brien was able to hold up there. So 1-0 the count. As once again, the Bobcats are just looking to pad this lead. They would like nothing less than to get out of here with the series sweep. But this is easily the closest game they've had to do. Both of the other games, the other 2 games they've played have ended early due to run rules. As that one gets away from Timmons. So both runners advance. Now some hits easily will score one. Might score both. As now that moved Grine over to third, Keidel over to second, and O'Brien, who is the leadoff or the 9-spot hitter, as now a quick mound visit here between the infielders and the pitcher Russo. Bryan is 1 for 2 today, had the single in the 4th and grounded out in the 6th. She had that nice bunt in the 6th inning, or the 3rd inning, excuse me.
Yeah, and she's had a successful series, although she's a speedy player. She's not one of those really flashy batters, but she always seems to get her job done. And her job is to just kind of round down that lineup. And a lot of people may think, oh, batting in the ninth spot is a negative thing, but really it's a positive. That you got to have a strong hitter to.
As that one is down the line, runners stay, and O'Brien can't quite beat out the throw. It was real close once again. O'Brien's got that speed to get down the line quickly, and now I think, yeah, Jenna Hall's going to want to go have a word here.
Once again,
I
I
think
don't
she
think
might be
there's much
making
she
it.
can
Yeah,
do.
I think we're gonna have a pinch hitter here. It's gonna be for the Bobcats. That is number 9, Casey Branch, the senior. Typical pinch hitter type. She has pinch hit a number of times already this season.
Yeah, coming in at the top of the lineup, especially late in a game like
Yeah.
this, when you have 2 outs and 2 runners in scoring position
Yeah,
right there.
I would assume it's probably just a Jenna Hall, finding a trusted player, somebody that she trusts to be able to find a hit here. 235 the average for Branch. She's only started 2 games, but she's played in 18 of them. So somebody that Coach Hall relies on. She's got 4 hits on the year and 17 at bats. And one of those hits was a home run. And that one paints the outside corner. Big spot here. If Branch can find a hit, you'd imagine it probably scores both runs. And a 6-2 game, the Bobcats would feel confident that they could pull it out. If she can't quite get that run in, we could be looking at a very tense top of the 7th inning.
Yeah, no kidding.
And
I mean,
strike
whew,
2 on the outside corner. Russo's bringing it for this at-bat.
2 beautiful pitches, just curving right out there on that outside. And Casey not really liking either of those pitches, taking both of them. See if she's going to be being able to defend the plate right here.
She's able to dribble one softly, and the play is made over at third base. Good play made by Richard, and Ball State limits the damage. 2nd and 3rd with 1 out. They're able to navigate it, and they're able to keep this interesting. We head to the top of the 7th. Skip Miller is back out there to try and pick up the complete game win when we come back. Here we go. The most interesting, definitely the best finish we're going to have here at OSF this weekend. It is 4-2 Ohio. And Ball State, for the first time all weekend, can feel a victory. They can sense that it's out there for them to grab. Really, for the first time in any of the 3 games, they have an opportunity late in the game to do some damage. And it'll be No, it's going to be it's another pinch. It's a pinch hitter here as well, as Ohio did in the bottom of the 6th, as does Ball State. In comes Maddie Weaver, the sophomore, who is a .250 hitter so far this season. Has only appeared, this is her 7th appearance of the year.
It's an interesting choice right here, bringing her in at such a crucial moment in this game. Maybe Coach Schurter is just thinking maybe a fresh pair of eyes out here and a fresh bat might be what Ball State needs to push them.
Yeah, and sometimes that's, sometimes it pays off, sometimes it doesn't. That's the glory of softball, the glory of these games is that you never really know. As there's a swing and a miss. Beautiful pitch there from Miller. We've really seen some wondrous punch-outs in this game from both pitchers, or from all three pitchers we've seen, Miller, King, and Russo. King and Russo for Ball State. Here's the 1-2 for Miller. A strikeout to set the tone here in the 7th could be huge. And it's high, 2-2. If you're just joining us, 2 runs on 4 hits and 1 error for Ball State. For Ohio, it is 4 runs on 8 hits and no errors. I'm Ethan Sargent. Alongside me is Chloe Workman. We're in Athens, Ohio at Ohio Softball Stadium. And that one doesn't catch the inside corner. You saw the little bit of a confused look on Miller's face. She wanted that one. No call from the umpire. We stay at 3-2.
It seems as if the sun's peeking through here for the final.
Yeah, would you look at that? It took all day, but it came out as that one is popped right back to Miller. Sun was kind of in her eyes or something. She kind of looked up like, I didn't really see that. Maybe the sun was kind of in her eyes. It would be at our back by now.
I guess she probably just wasn't, really expecting the sun to just kind of come out of nowhere. Really bright right on the field, too.
Yeah, and in the end, she was able to make the play. So one out down, 2 to go for Ohio. They need to hold. Ball State needs just 1 base runner to bring the tying run up to the plate. McKenna Mulholland is up to the bat. And it looks like Caitlin Gibson is warming up in the on-deck circle, so another pinch hitter. That one's hit hard, and that's exactly what the Cardinals needed, a base hit from Mulholland. And that will bring the tying run in Caitlin Gibson up to the plate.
Ooh, it's about to get really
things are going to get
intense.
interesting. Gibson is a 185 hitter. She's appeared in 21 games. She's got 5 starts. In 27 at-bats, she has 5 hits, and 2 of those were doubles, and 1 was a home run, 4 RBIs on the year.
This is the first time we're seeing Gibson this series, but I kind of kept my eye on her out of the corner of my eye. She stood over there the first game and was doing practice swings every single pitch.
And let me tell you, we Gibson at the plate now, but somebody that no Bobcat fan will like to see is on deck, and Haley Wynn, who homered in her last at-bat to cut the deficit to 4-2. And now she may have another chance to tie the game with another homer. As, the sunglasses have now come out on Miller and a lot of the Bobcat hitters. That one is high. Count 1-1 now. As after that first out, which went about as smoothly as Skip Miller could have wanted things, now on a knife edge with Ball State having the tying runner up to the plate with 2 outs, or with 1 out, excuse me.
Although it may not be considered a walk-off if they were to get this lead back. It's almost as exciting as
Oh,
one.
absolutely. I mean, for a team that they have not been able to, they got run ruled twice. You got to think about it. And this is a team that is near the top of the MAC. You got to carry that momentum. We still have plenty of MAC series left in the season. They need this momentum heading into their next couple of games, as that one catches the inside corner. Big time bounce back pitch there from Miller. A strikeout here would be exactly what the doctor ordered, as this game is hanging right now. Easily the best finish we've had all weekend. Here is the 2-2 from Miller, looking to the signs. Looks at the wrist. Now deals. Hit to third. Over to second for 1. And over to first. It's a game-ending double play. What a job by the Bobcat infield. And the Bobcats take home a 4-2 W on a double play to close it out. And they close out their 9th win in a row in style.
What an exciting way to end it there for the Bobcats. I mean, they just dominated the whole series with their bats. In the end, it came down to the fielding. They had no errors this game. Best so far of the series.
Yeah, and what an impressive victory in the end that turns out to be. The grittiest win for sure. It was an absolute battle. And in the end, it is Ohio who come out on top. What a thrilling. We'll run through the scoring really quickly in the bottom, and it all came in one inning. It was that bottom of the third. They went on a double train. Hummel first singled to score Keidel. And then Logan, Paoli, and Daw all doubled in order. Logan, Paoli, and then they each brought home their last runner. So Logan brought home Hummel. Paoli brought home Logan. Daw brought home, Paoli brought home Hummel. And then Logan brought home
Paoli.
I'm not gonna stop. I'm blowing this. So in the end, it was a dominant victory for Ohio. A dominant weekend. They win 9 in a row, and they head to Columbus on Tuesday with momentum at their backs, Chloe.
Yeah, no kidding with that. 9 in a row. I mean, there's just no way to dispute that. But they're going to have it's going to be a dogfight up there in Columbus. I'm jealous of everybody that's going to be there to see it. Their bats have been hot lately, and it'll be exciting to see if they can keep it going in the midweek action on Wednesday.
Man, that'll just about do it from us here at OSF. It's been a great day. Now the sun decides to peek its head out after a cloudy and dreary day, but it was definitely not a cloudy and dreary day of softball. And Ohio takes both legs of the doubleheader. They take it 10-2 in the early game and 4-2 here in the late game. And they have won 9 games in a row for Chloe Workman. I've been Ethan Sargent. Thank you so much for tuning in on this Sunday, and enjoy the rest of your weekend. From Athens, Ohio, signing off.